I don't really know why I'm telling this. Maybe just to hear it out loud. Maybe to see if it still sounds real when I say it. The night before I left, I fell asleep in the bathtub. Wasn't planning to. Just sat there after a shower, wrapped in a towel, and stayed there. I guess I didn't want to get out. And at some point, I didn't care that I hadn't. When I woke up, the mirror was fogged. The lights were off. And I couldn't remember how long I'd been sitting in the dark. It had been 11 days, I think. Since the funeral. Since we buried May. 38. No warning. No pain. No goodbye. Just didn't wake up. The doctor called it peaceful. Like that word meant anything to me now. We were watching TV the night before. She said she was cold. I told her I'd make tea. She smiled. I never brought the tea. I don't remember what I did the first few days after. I answered a lot of calls. Nodded through a lot of silence. Stood in rooms full of people who didn't know how to look at me. They meant well. They always do. But I hated the way they talked about her like she was some memory to preserve. Not a person who used to leave her wet socks by the door. Or steal all the good cereal before I noticed. I stayed in the apartment. For too long. Everything in there still smelled like her. And not in a good way. Not comforting. Just heavy. The kitchen made me sick. I couldn't walk into the bedroom without feeling like I was being watched by the part of her that hadn't left yet. And one morning I woke up. In the tub. Again. And I just thought. No. No more walls. No more pictures. No more slow hours that feel like weeks. So I packed a bag. Not because I had a plan. I just couldn't stay still anymore. I grabbed my old gear from the closet. Tent. Sleeping bag. Some food. A map I'd kept from college. Knife I'd never used. Her hoodie. The gray one. She always wore it when she didn't want to talk to anyone. I left my phone in the glove box. Turned it off. Drove west. Until the roads got thinner. Until the towns disappeared. Until the trees started pressing in again. Found a trail I remembered from a long time ago. No signs. No people. Just that hum the forest makes when it forgets you're there. I walked a little. Set up camp near a dry creek. Nothing dramatic. No big hike. Just enough to be somewhere else. I sat on a log. Didn't say anything. Didn't cry. Just breathed. The air was colder than I thought it'd be. The ground was soft. The trees leaned. Just a little. I laid down before the sun set. Zipped up the tent. Closed my eyes. Told myself. Just one night. That's all this is. Just one night. To feel nothing. I didn't sleep much. I closed my eyes. But my body never really shut down. Every time I drifted, there was this sound. Not loud. Not sudden. Just enough to keep me here. Somewhere between dream and breath. At first I thought it was branches. Or maybe something brushing against the tent. But when I held my breath, the sound didn't stop. It was like breathing. But not mine. Not even human. Slow. Too slow. I kept telling myself. It was nothing. Wind. Pressure. Imagination doing its job. I used to be good at explaining things away. Around maybe 2 or 3. I sat up. Unzipped the tent. And stepped out. The air was colder. Like everything had dropped 5 degrees while I wasn't looking. And the dark was thick. Like the kind you only see in movies. Or in basements you don't want to go into. I looked around. Didn't see anything. No eyes. No movement. Just that weird kind of silence. Not empty. Just paused. You know that feeling. When a room goes quiet because someone is about to speak. But they don't. And the pause just stretches. Until you forget what talking even feels like. That's what it was like. I pissed on a rock and said her name. Not sure why. Just felt wrong to be out there and not say it at least once. May. Nothing echoed. Not even that. I got back in the tent. Zipped it up. Lay there with my eyes open. Watching nothing. Then I heard it again. Closer this time. Like. Just outside the fabric. The kind of movement you don't feel. You just know it happened. I stayed still. Not frozen. Just waiting. It passed. Whatever it was. And the quiet came back. Harder than before. And I realized. I hadn't heard a single bird since I got there. Not even bugs. No wings. No scratching. Just wind pretending to be other things. By dawn I gave up trying to sleep. Just sat outside with cold hands. Eating a protein bar that tasted like chalk. Thinking about nothing. I was supposed to feel better. Wasn't that the point of this? Disconnect. Reset. Whatever people call it when they leave the city and go into the woods to find something they're missing. But I didn't feel lighter. Or clearer. I felt blurred. Like I'd stepped just half an inch out of place. And the world hadn't decided if it wanted me back. I packed my stuff. But didn't leave. I don't know why. Just walked a bit deeper. Maybe a mile. Maybe less. Found another flat spot. And stayed. I woke up late. Or maybe I just opened my eyes late. It didn't feel like real sleep. Just a long blink. The tent was colder than before. But outside. It was too bright. And not in a good way. The kind of light that doesn't warm anything. Just hovers. Flat. Dull. Like the forest didn't know what time it was supposed to be. I packed up slow. Ate half a bar. Left the other half on a rock. I don't know why. Maybe I thought something would need it more than me. I figured I'd hike back the same way I came. Wasn't far. Trail wasn't marked, but I had the shape of it in my head. Or I thought I did. But 30 minutes in, I knew something was wrong. I saw a tree I recognized. Same branch split off. Same bark missing at the base. But it was on the wrong side of the slope. I thought I'd turned without realizing. I backtracked. Then forward again. Tried to mark the direction with a broken stick. Didn't help. I checked the sun. But it looked pinned in place. Like it wasn't rising. Just sitting there. And the woods were louder than yesterday. But not with birds. With pressure. Like everything was holding something in. And I was the only thing leaking noise. I kept walking. Kept thinking I'd break through to the road. Or hear a car. Or see sky that looked like sky. But I just kept walking into more of the same. Same logs. Same stones. Same half-dry creek that didn't match the map. And then I saw it. The place I'd slept. No doubt. My footprints. The broken branch. The wrapper from the bar I left on the rock. I'd gone in a full loop. And I hadn't turned once. I stood there for a long time. Hands on hips. Trying not to let it get to me. But it did. Not panic. Not fear. Just that feeling you get when you open the fridge and all the food is gone, and you don't remember eating any of it. I sat down, drank a little, told myself I'd try again in the afternoon. Blamed the sleep, the light, the map. But something had moved since I was gone. The clearing felt closer, narrower. Like the trees had leaned in just a little. Not much. Just enough for me to notice. Just enough to make it feel less neutral. I didn't want to camp in the same spot again. So I moved 20 minutes farther in. Set up fast. Before the light started to shift. And that's when I heard it. Just a crack. Far off. But heavy. Not a branch falling. Not a bird taking flight. Something large. Stepping. Just once. Then stillness. And this pressure. Low. Deep. Like the earth was waiting to see what I'd do next. I didn't sleep the second night. Not even close. Just laid there listening. The forest felt tighter. Like the dark had mass. And it was settling in around the tent. One breath at a time. Somewhere out there. Something moved. I told myself it was deer. They come close sometimes. You hear hooves. They sniff the nylon. They walk away. But this wasn't hooves. It stepped once. Then paused. Then stepped again. Slow. Heavy. Not curious. I held my breath so long my ribs hurt. Then it passed. Or maybe stopped. I don't know. I waited till dawn. Or what I thought was dawn. It never really brightened. Just went from black to gray. I packed fast. Kept the knife in my hand. Didn't eat. Just walked. And walked. I saw more prints. Not mine. Not boot. Not clear. Just deep. Round. Pressed into wet ground near the creek. I crouched. Touched one. Still soft. And then I heard the growl. Not loud. Not even close. Just near enough to not be a warning. Just a statement. I stood up slow. Turned left. Started walking fast. Not running. Not yet. Then the brush broke behind me. I ran. Branches hit my face. Rocks underfoot. My pack bounced too hard. I thought about dropping it but didn't. Something followed. Not sprinting. Just tracking. Like it knew I'd slow down eventually. Then I slipped. Hit the slope. Rolled hard. Lost the bag. Knife flew. My arm slammed into a root hard enough to buzz. I didn't get up right away. Just listened. I couldn't hear it anymore. Only my own pulse. I stood. My forearm ached. Wet with blood. Not deep. But deep enough to hurt. I dropped everything except my breath. The forest didn't move. But it watched. I climbed out of the hollow slow. Tried to call out. For what I don't know. Maybe just a sound that wasn't mine. Nothing answered. I kept moving. No pack. No food. No compass. Just my fists and a name I couldn't say out loud anymore. I walked until my legs shook. Then I saw them. 3 people. Standing near a fallen tree. Backpacks. Coats. Talking quietly. I thought they weren't real at first. Just part of the forest's trick. But they turned. And one of them said, "Holy shit. Are you okay?" And I think, that's the first thing I really heard in days. They gave me water. Tore a sleeve off someone's flannel. Wrapped my arm tight. Asked me what happened. I told them. Mostly. About the fall. The sound. The shape in the trees. They nodded like they believed me. Or at least like it didn't matter if they didn't. They said their names. I forgot them right after. There were 4 of them. All mid-30s maybe. Weekend campers. Not survivalists. Just regular people with heavy boots and warm coats. They gave me a bar to eat. I chewed it without tasting anything. My mouth too dry. My head too full. One of them had a walkie. Said he'd try calling the rangers. But there was only static. Even from the ridge. They offered to walk me out. Said it wasn't far. Just needed to backtrack to the main road. I should have been relieved. I wanted to be. But something in me didn't settle. I kept looking over my shoulder. Not because of them. Because of what wasn't there. No sound. Again. No wind. No birds. No footsteps. We moved for about an hour. I stayed in the middle. Quiet. Focused on their voices so I didn't slip again. Then I noticed. The girl in the back. She kept glancing behind us. Not fast. Not scared. Just alert. I asked. Soft. "Do you hear it too?" She didn't answer right away. Just looked at me like I'd said something out of place. Then. "Yeah. I think something's following." The others didn't react. They were laughing about something. Light mood. Trying to keep it normal. But it wasn't normal. We passed through a narrow cut in the rock. Came out on the other side. And she stopped me. Touched my arm. Pointed down. Fresh tracks. Deep. Wide-spaced. Closer than before. "Do you have meat on you?" she asked. "No." "Any trash?" I shook my head. She looked around. Then said something I didn't expect. "It's just you it's following." I tried to laugh. But it caught in my throat. Not fear. Just confirmation. I think I already knew that. The way it moved. The way it paused when I did. The way it never came closer. Unless I was alone. We camped that night. They insisted. Said I needed rest. Said it was safer together. They gave me a dry blanket. Let me sleep inside their tent. But I didn't sleep. I kept listening. And once. Around 2. I swear I heard it again. Just outside the nylon. Not moving. Not sniffing. Just. Waiting. I didn't sleep. None of us really did. Not fully. Just took turns pretending to rest. Someone always stayed up. Tending the tiny fire. Listening to the dark. Around midnight. I got out to piss. One of the guys, I think his name was Kyle, nodded at me. He was sitting near the edge of the clearing. Headlamp on low. Gripping a stick like it meant something. He said. "It hasn't moved in a while." I didn't ask what. We both knew. The forest was too still. Like it was holding its breath. I zipped back into the tent. Lay there. Listened to the hiss of the fire burning low. And then. Somewhere deep. A crack. A single branch. Breaking. Not loud. But it wasn't a squirrel. Kyle didn't say anything. And I didn't get up. When morning came, the fire was dead. The air sharp with cold. We moved slow. Like people waking from a dream they didn't like. And then someone said it. "Where's Kyle?" No one answered at first. We looked around. Not panicked. Not yet. His pack was still there. His boots. His jacket. But not him. No sign of a struggle. No blood. No trail. Just gone. I felt it in my ribs. Before I felt it in my head. This cold, low thing that crawled into my chest and wouldn't leave. Someone asked if maybe he went to find help. Maybe he got turned around. Maybe he just walked out early. But the truth was, we didn't know when he disappeared. None of us heard him leave. None of us saw him get up. I wanted to say something. To offer sense. But I couldn't. Because deep down, I was thinking the same thing they were. Even if they wouldn't say it. He was near me. I was the reason this thing was close. The girl. She stared at the trees too long. Like she expected to see him. Or whatever took him. Standing between the trunks. Just out of reach. Someone finally picked up his gear. We didn't say much after that. We broke camp in silence. Started walking again. The mood tight. Heavy. I tried to apologize. But one of them stopped me. "Don't," she said. "You didn't bring this." But I did. I knew I did. Even if I didn't know how. We walked for hours. Nobody said much. Just kept moving. I didn't ask where we were heading. I think we were all hoping the trail would lead to something. A road. A ranger station. A phone signal. A way out. But every time I looked behind us, the trees looked the same. Like they'd followed us. Not the other way around. The girl. I think her name was Laura. She kept checking over her shoulder. Every 20 minutes or so. Like she was keeping count. Once she slowed down. Whispered. "It's not falling back." I didn't answer. Because I already knew. We found more tracks. Closer. Sharper. More deliberate. Not circling. Not random. Following. Only one set. No cubs. No scatter. Whatever it was. It wasn't confused. It knew who it wanted. I sat down when my legs gave out. Someone gave me water. But I barely drank. I looked at my hands. They were shaking. Not from pain. Not from fear. Just exhaustion. The kind that starts in your bones and climbs outward. Laura sat beside me. Quiet. Then said, "It's only you." I nodded. "It doesn't care about us," she said. "It only comes close when you fall behind." I wanted to argue. But I couldn't. Because it was true. Every sound. Every step. Every pause in the dark. It all lined up with me. I asked her. Soft. "Why?" She shrugged. "Some animals pick their kill." But I didn't think it was just animal. Not anymore. Maybe not even about food. Maybe it saw something else in me. Something broken. Slow. Easy. Prey that already gave up. I think. Maybe. Part of me wanted it. Not to die. But to be done. Not with pain. Just with trying. That night. We camped light. No fire. No tents. Just packs against our backs. And eyes always open. One of them had a flare. Kept it ready. In his fist. Like a match against a storm. I didn't sleep. Again. Just sat with my back to a tree. Watching the dark. And at some point, I stopped hearing the others breathe. Not because they were gone. But because all I could hear was mine. And then something stepped into the edge of the clearing. Not loud. Not fast. Just there. I didn't turn. I didn't look. Just said. Quiet. I know you're here. And it didn't move. It came just before dawn. When the sky started turning that strange blue. The kind that doesn't warm anything. Just tells you the dark is done pretending. I heard it. First. A low growl. Not from far. But right behind me. I didn't run. There was nowhere to go. I just turned slowly. Stood up. And looked. It was there. Not a shadow. Not a sound. But a body. Real. Solid. Huge. It looked like a wolf. Or a cat. Or something between. But wrong. Not monstrous. Just too quiet for its size. Like the forest bent around it. Laura shouted. Someone threw something. It didn't flinch. Then it moved. Fast. Low. Straight at me. I didn't raise my hands. Didn't scream. Just watched it come. And right before it hit. A crack. Like thunder. And the thing fell. Hard. Skidded in the dirt. Jerked once. Then went still. Shouts followed. Boots. People. Flashlights slicing through trees. Someone grabbed me. Held my shoulders. I didn't move. Just stared at the thing on the ground. A ranger. Stepped into view. Rifle lowered. Face pale. You okay? He asked. I think I nodded. Not sure. Behind him. Someone else came running. Mud on his shirt. Blood on one sleeve. Kyle. I blinked. He was out of breath. But alive. He said. He'd followed a dry stream. Found a ranger station. Ran all night back with them. Laura almost cried. The others too. But I didn't. I just sat down. Closed my eyes. They carried me out. I don't remember much after that. Flashing lights. A stretcher. Questions. I answered some. Left the rest alone. They told me it was a mountain lion. Rare. Aggressive. Starving maybe. But I know better. Animals don't hunt like that. Not slow. Not personal. It picked me. And it waited. Not because it was hungry. Because it knew I wouldn't fight forever. They patched my arm. Kept me overnight. The others gave statements. Called me lucky. But luck isn't what it felt like. I sleep most nights now. Not all. Some dreams. Some echoes. Sometimes I think I hear it. Outside the window. In the trees across the road. But I don't check. Because I think. Whatever was in that forest. Whatever looked at me through the dark. It got enough of me to remember. The end.